Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is May 8th, 2024, and you're listening, watching the Daily AI Show live. And today it's Wednesday, so that means we're going to talk about all the news that we have found interesting over the last 7 days or so. Let me tell you who we got, and then we'll get into the topics at hand. So you might have noticed if you saw our splash screen, we have a slightly different splash screen for this one, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But we have a full boat today, almost a full boat. We got Junmi, Beth, Carl. Aaron's here with us, Andy, and I'm Brian. So, always 6 out of 7. That's not bad. We're doing all right today. So, with it being our news show, usually we pick up whatever comes down the sort of the pipe. We all have different, resources we look out to, different things that interest us. We all have our own, hobbies and interests and stuff. So we always go through that lens, and we don't share before the show. That way, if I'm learning from Andy, which I always do, because Andy's sharing something, I'm learning along with you guys. Now, today is a little bit different because there has been, as it goes with AI, there's been sort of this, in our world, there's been this overwhelming sort of news story, but it's all hints, allegations, speculations, things left unsaid as it goes. So let's kind of get into that. And I think, Carl, if you're cool with it, I'm gonna kick it off to you. What we're talking about, just to throw this out there, is there has been some interesting stuff coming out about OpenAI. Originally, they said maybe tomorrow. Now they're saying maybe Monday. I don't know what they is. Carl, you can define that.
Because they is not OpenAI.
AI is not OpenAI. It's just sources and stuff about OpenAI bringing their own search engine. Okay, yeah. So I'll stop there. And Carl, go ahead and give us the background here and what you've sort of brought so far on this.
I think so let's rewind a little bit, and I think I'm going to come at it this lens this time around from a marketing perspective, because even before, the potential announcement and what could happen today, probably on Monday, is there was actually I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago where Google was potentially losing search engine market share, right? There was that, hey, where are people going to do their search? And obviously we've seen in the news the rise of Perplexity and the amount of billions they're getting from investors. And then even before that, we were seeing that Gen Z, millennials starting to move, doing a lot of their search away from Google. And then also the different verticals, right? So if you do your search, you don't just search on Google, you search on Amazon. If you want a product, you search for restaurants and so on. Maybe not even Google Maps anymore. You go to TikTok. So there's different search and verticals. So it's kind of a natural progression. Then there was an article that it was sort of Ed Zitron, who, if you want to look that up, the man who killed Google search. It's about the head of Google search and, the fight he had with Ben Gomez in terms of Google's paid ads versus organic search, and the way that we've seen search today and all the ads, and can we really trust it? And then most people put Reddit at the end because people would rather trust Reddit posts than what's on Google. So that's a little bit of context. So it's only a natural progression that, hey, you've got custom GPTs, you got ChatGPT plus Teams Enterprise that actually can go search the web when you're asking for answers. Naturally, you've got Gemini that can do this. I don't think any of the Anthropic models can. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure about Meta, if it can go search.
It does search the internet.
It does search. So
but what is it using on the back end? Is a browsing? I don't know.
Yeah. So, and then there's been drips and drips and drips over the past couple of weeks that OpenAI is about to launch their own search engine. And what does that mean? My first thought is, wait, don't they already have a search engine? It's called Bing, and they connect it to ChatGPT. But no, because there was a Bloomberg article that mentioned that they've actually developed their own search. It's going to be separate from ChatGPT. So again, a Bloomberg article, I'm not sure where their sources are, and that Bing is supposed to supplement it, but not be the search. So that's where we are today. But I think to me, the bigger story is not necessarily ChatGPT as a search. It's the ramifications of this. Because if they launch it, because if you go to the website now, OpenAI.com, I think, or ChatGPT.com, one of those two, their website is now it's chat, right? It's you chat, you find the answers you're looking for. So if they go ahead with this, and we don't know what it is, what the capabilities are, if it'll flop, it'll be awesome, don't know. But if the bigger ramification is, we know that if this happens, Google's going to do something. Then you're going to go with Anthropic has to be doing something. Meta's already there. So what does that mean for the search environment? Because if that's where everyone is going, then the whole marketing aspect of online marketing, how your business is found, changes. Because paid search, that's Google's cash cow. Well, if people are just getting the answers, why would I need to click on the ads, right? Then that raises a whole other questions. Oh, how are they going to implement the ads into the search, especially if it's generative? Then can you trust the generation if they've injected it with ads? That's a very hard thing, is if people find out that what it's generating is ad based, and advertisers are paying the generation, that completely destroys the entire thing. So you've got that. Then you've got organic search in general. There's no more 10 blue links. It's, hey, I found what I'm looking for. So there's a lot of people. There's people like Eli Schwartz, who says, hey, you got to focus on the middle of the funnel about your product. And there is some truth in that, because if you go to Perplexity, if you go to Bing search or ChatGPT search, it has a really tough time in SEO, there's no go do. You want to know something, you want to go somewhere, and then you want to do something. So no, that is going to be taken up by all this AI stuff. A lot of all these LLMs, because they provide the knowledge. So you don't really need to click on any of the articles for that. Go, though, is if I typed Nike, I want to go to Nike. I don't want to know about Nike. I don't want to know the history. I don't know. I want to go there because I want to buy something. So how will AI be able to encapsulate that? That's a very interesting challenge. And then also I want to do something. So I want to do a transaction. I want to buy something. I want to book something. I'm not sure that AI could necessarily do that reliably at this moment. So I feel that the no part, that's going to be disrupted. The go part, perhaps if they do it right. The do part, that's the interesting part. And that's maybe where agents come in. It's like, I need you to book a ticket, or I need you to book seats. But we've seen it's not quite there yet. So that's very brief overview of where I thought, from the angle that I think that has a big ramification of search and AI.
That's awesome. And I want to say that look, when this gets announced, we will probably, depending on the level of the announcement, right? Because it could be less than people are expecting. It could be more. Then we will do a show on it, and we will spend a whole 30 minutes talking about it. Right now, it is all speculation because, Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, nobody at OpenAI has commented on this, not even a little weird tweet or anything on X or anything like that. So it's just sources. Bloomberg seems to be the primary source. That's the same one I saw.
And then Jimmy Apple.
Yeah.
Jimmy Apple.
Yeah, who said he was the one on X that said it was now going to be delayed to Monday from tomorrow, which is Thursday. So who knows? We've gone through many cycles of this before, so it'll be interesting to see.
And one last thing of all the things. Sorry about that. I just want to. The funny thing is, so Thursday, Google I/O is on Tuesday. I don't know if this is a troll or an FU to Google, but to have your event the day before, and we don't know what's the event. Everyone's speculating it's search. Bloomberg's are fine. Imagine if they drop GPT-5, that obliterates whatever news comes out of Google I/O. So it's really funny that it's Thursday. I don't know if it's hey, you know what? let's take this right to the edge and let's do it on Monday. It's kind of funny that it is on Monday.
And I just want to bring
up everyone who doesn't know this. Carl has a special love affair with Google because he lives in Canada. They make life difficult for Canadians to do just about anything except search. So just keep that in mind.
I just want to add two quick things to this, and I do want to make sure we leave room for the show of news. Right, this is news but it's like news, and also, but we're just saying it might happen, and we're bringing it to you guys. But two things, I think, Carl. One, and I think I've already forgotten my second one, but my first one was about multimodal. I think you were the one, or maybe Beth, you shared something in our Slack channel, and it was somebody from OpenAI. It was not Sam Altman. It was somebody else. It was a gentleman I did not recognize. And, he was saying he was parroting the same thing we hear Sam kind of saying, we've heard other people say, which is like ChatGPT 4 is dumb. It's dumb by any future standards. It's dumb. A year from now, we're all going to laugh at how dumb it is, blah, blah, blah. Right. So that kind of thing. But, they come back and they talk a lot about multimodal. And so I'm thinking, Carl, whatever this is, whatever iteration of this is of chat or like a search engine, it's got to be built in with a large not language model, large action model, built into it. And it's also got to be multimodal first, meaning it's got to be just as good with voice as it would be if you typed it, because we just know that I feel confident saying that OpenAI is saying, like, we don't want you to have to type anything at your computer. We want you to sit down and go, this is what's going on with my day, computer, or whatever you're going to say to it. And, these are the things I have going on. Can you pull up those things? I know I have a meeting later and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to bring these things forward to you. And that's going to be this weird sort of futuristic mesh of both search engine actions and all this other stuff. So whatever it is, I guess my thing is, like, I just expect it to have that next level where in the past we've sort of seen these appended to the search engines. And now I'm expecting it to be like Google said, we built this from the ground up as multimodal. I guess we'll see. We'll see what OpenAI has. I don't know.
Yeah. Can I jump in with a quick comment, being the other marketing person in the group?
Sure.
So I actually did a video on my own YouTube channel probably 2 or 3 weeks ago where I was talking about, because my marketing background started with SEO and Google Ads. I've been doing that stuff for nearly 20 years now. And I was basically raised the question was, what happens if search, i.e. Google Ads, and SEO goes away for a lot of businesses? And it could make a huge impact. And I agree with Carl, you've got those 3 levels. Definitely no. Suddenly the chat GPTs of the world become the answer engine. Instead of searching for somewhere to go and look for the answer, you just go straight to chat GPT, ask the question, you get the answer. Ditto for Perplexity, etc. But if we get to the point where I know for many years, Google in some respects tolerates SEO only because it brings people to their search engine, which is their cash cow, absolutely. If people don't go to Google for that kind of stuff, you are definitely going to see a big impact on their revenue for the ad side of it. And it's going to make a really interesting change into the market as far as how businesses get customers to their website and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be from a marketing perspective, it's really, watch this space. It's really quite fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we might even have a show on that, because Carl, you just recently had shared, we'll get into a different time, but she was the futurist, and you shared the video on it. And we'll talk about it more, but she was talking about how there has to be this sort of fundamental shift, like what you're saying, Aaron, about how to approach this in the future when you have AI that can create billions of pieces of content, and how that affects the whole system. That's a really interesting topic at all. A little sidestep from maybe OpenAI is doing, but still really, really interesting. So I think maybe a show on that as well would be super cool.
I wasn't surprised that you mentioned blockchain in that discussion. That was the first thing that came to mind for me, was that's one solution.
Yeah, validating it through the process and stuff like that. That's a cool topic. Okay, because I can go. I don't want to go down that road. So that's what we think might be going on. We're going to be waiting and listening along with the rest of y'all. And of course, when there's something more to talk about on it, we absolutely will bring it up on maybe its own show, maybe as early as next week. We'll see. So let's just pivot a little bit and get into like more of the news. I don't know, Jimmy, Beth, Carl, Andy.
Apple just released the new iPad models. And it has the M4 chip in the iPad Pro models, and they are designed for AI. It's a big move from Apple, and it's untested, of course, because we can't play with them yet. They are available on the 15th of May.
So please feel free to send us all one, Apple, and we'll test it and let you know.
But it's a big thing, and it may be like Microsoft is rumored to potentially have a device with a custom chip in it for AI as well. But that's like the big. This is the first of device with their own big AI chip.
And Jimmy, I'm curious about Final Cut Pro. What's your response on Final Cut
Pro? Right. Okay. Well, so I watched the event and tried to extract some good things, and Beth touched upon the most important takeaway is the neural processor. I found it really interesting that they've now connected neural processor with AI in their language, right? The neural processor in the M4 isn't new. They've had neural processor in the M series of chips from M1, right? It's just been more and more capable. And it's always done the same thing, but now they're letting everybody know this is how we're focusing the neural processor, and it's for processing AI AI components, or it's a component to process AI processes. So, for example, Final Cut and Logic Pro. So they're in Apple fashion. They haven't released this is our AI product. They've said we've upgraded our products with AI or with machine learning. Yeah. The biggest takeaways for Final Cut was the live multicam. That's super huge in terms of being able to just take a backpack full of phones and tablets to a set and shoot a live event just from all of that. What popped into my mind for an awesome use case was to give your entire team or give out as a product thing at an event to everyone, saying, "Hey, if you see anything that you like, just it's set to record and go." And that way, you could have full coverage of a number of cameras all over your event, and and just draw from it, throw up on a live page or a live screen somewhere, and so all this experiential things. So that's what came to my mind first. The most direct benefit that they pointed out was in Logic Pro, and that's just all audio editing, music composition, those kinds of things. The biggest thing their ML add is now that using AI, they can separate different audio tracks from a single piece of audio. So you no longer have to have the stems of putting together, a piece of music. You can take a single piece of music and break it down into stems, which is
That's
huge.
So cool.
That's super cool. It lowers the bar of entry for musical composition, especially if you happen to play something or you're in a band or anything like that. It just cuts down the amount of processing time and lowers that barrier of entry, so you don't have to be really awesome at this stuff already. So
plus karaoke. Those are the don't forget, takeaways. You can do karaoke using AI.
Yeah.
You karaoke is my voice.
Right. Apple's new M4, the karaoke killer.
Yeah.
If it makes me sound better, I'm for it.
Right. So yeah, I am excited. I tried to find if anyone had come up with a way to do a conversion, right, of tokens per second to tops or T-flops or any of those kinds of conversions. And it's not easy. All the responses are, it's more about memory bandwidth and it's more about this and that. I saw someone come up with a general equation for it. And so M4, they touted at having 80 trillion operations per second, right? Or not 80, I'm sorry, 38 trillion operations per second, which which if all other things are equal, might come out with, if you're doing was it a 7 billion parameter model, would come out to something like 30 something tokens a second. Now, again, tons of factors. We can't do a direct conversion yet. But what I wanted to explore was to see if that language would change because of things like the Grok chip, right? Because they go directly into tokens per second. This is how they're selling it. You want to be able to process this. And then there's certain kinds of language that NVIDIA uses when they're talking about T-flops and how many tokens that gets processes per second. And it's something in like the 2000s range, 3000 range. And so I think that might be a really good way to get us all on the same page of what this means, because otherwise it does become a lot of jargon, right? And it's like, yeah, 38 trillion operations. That sounds like a lot. Well, what does that mean? Right? Does it mean anything? But I do like the fact that Apple is now bringing that to the forefront and showing applied usage of it. And I think that's my main takeaway out of what Apple has done is let's not just, we'll give all the specs and jargon and everything like that, but what does it actually mean for Apple users? Oh, that means Final Cut can do this. That means Logic can now do this. And I think that's the bigger takeaway for me.
Sounds good.
Right. All right. I'd like to jump in on for something completely different, or not completely different. We talk at length on the show about this year being important to the development of agents. And I want to talk about multi-agent systems. In the news that a couple of scientists from DeepMind sort of teased in January that they were going to leave DeepMind to form a startup. And that startup just got $200 million of funding. Just to follow the money and see where these huge investments are made, not in something that's already developed and showing promise, but rather here's two scientists who have a thesis and a plan of action to deliver something that's focused on multi-agent LLMs. So they're going to train a new LLM that is from its inception, just like, you have to train from inception using multimodal data in order to get a multimodal capable LLM to output. Well, this thing that they're going to do is going to leapfrog competition by doing models that go way beyond current capabilities, by adding things like memory and multi-step planning using multiple agents within their architecture. So you can't, let me explain very quickly what that looks like. And we're talking about agents which have the capacity to do actions against, the web or, ultimately with embodiment, in the real environment. But when you have multiple agents, what you're doing is you're giving inside the complex neural networks of the AI the opportunity for those agents to work with each other in coordinated fashion. And you can describe what a single agent's focused skill is, and then set it loose within the environment. And then another one, and then you can invite an orchestrating agent to take advantage of all the available skills and endowed agents to accomplish a very complex task. So this is what they're going for, is this multi-agent architecture. And what their $200 million is primarily being invested in is the compute power necessary to accomplish that training. That's why it requires such huge sums. Otherwise, they could, work using open source models or whatever, to, advance the multi-agent approach. Now, Microsoft already has a multi-agent development platform called AutoGen. And, we haven't talked about it, and I haven't used it, and I don't understand it fully. But I watched the first parts of a great YouTube video that describes how AutoGen works. And I'll give you a quick example that came from that video, which is you can use AutoGen to say, I want to create an agent with the skill to connect to my email account and do X and Y. So I want you, LLM, to, using AutoGen, to write Python code to accomplish that. So you're going to build me a little platform that's going to do the connector. And so, we have all these automation systems that accomplish these API integrations. Well, that'll be done by an agent in the future. But then there's another agent that, because Python's generated by LLMs is not always perfect, there's going to be another one that's going to review the Python code. And its skill is to review and improve and verify that it's working correctly. So now you get closer and closer to the point where you can just give an LLM that has multi-agent capabilities the overall objective and then release it without much supervision, although you can insert steps within your request that, okay, every so often I want you to check in with me and tell me where you are, and I'm going to review that, and you can have a conversation with the LLM that's orchestrating that, so you get to the ultimate end game there. So I'm very excited about this new idea of multi-agents, and it's not a new idea. Of course, the AI scientists have been working on it for a long time, but I'm going to personally dig into what Microsoft's AutoGen is, and we'll report on that later.
Yeah, that does sound very cool. That's really exciting.
Speaking of Microsoft, so it's been announced now. I've read this on Ars Technica. I don't know if it came out somewhere else first, but it's been announced that Microsoft is working on their own new large-scale AI language model called MAI-1. Now, it's supposed to be maybe about, I think it's 500 billion parameters. And it's being run by Microsoft's new in-house consumer AI team, which is led by Mustafa Suleiman, who was the head honcho at Inflection, and all the team came across, yada, yada, yada. And the idea is that it could compete against Google, Anthropic, and AI. And OpenAI. Now, I thought the really interesting thing about this wasn't the fact that Microsoft creating their own AI. I thought what was really interesting is that Microsoft is currently in a really not a safe space, because they are reliant on one provider for their AI stuff, i.e. our friends at OpenAI. Now, if you all remember when Sam Altman got the boot, and everyone just about quit on the spot, and I'm guessing Satya Nadella or whatever his name is, apology, I know I got that wrong. He's probably going, oh my God, what have I done? We just burnt $10 million in investment, yada, yada, yada. OpenAI's technology is now embedded in Microsoft Copilot, which is embedded in Bing. It's embedded in Office 365, and there's a whole lot of things. So they don't have redundancy. And what happens if something bad happens to OpenAI? They go out of business, for example, or the relationship between Microsoft and OpenAI declines badly and something goes wrong. So to me, it's a pretty smart move that they're doing this, because it's going to give them that backup or that redundancy. Even though they've invested $10+ billion in OpenAI, they'd be stupid not to do it. So I think that's going to be, I think that's probably the long-term play for this, is maybe eventually replace the OpenAI built Copilot system in there. But yeah, it was an interesting piece, so something to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
well, the agreement.
Go ahead, Beth. Go ahead.
The agreement with OpenAI ends at AGI. Now, we've already had a conversation about what is AGI and who's going to decide. Yeah. AGI has been achieved, therefore the agreement is null. But the agreement itself has an end date at which Microsoft is no longer able to profit exclusively or with licensing from the technology. When AGI is achieved from OpenAI, that is released open to anyone, to the world.
I didn't know that.
Is the agreement.
Huh, I didn't know that. I was going to say, I assume, number one, I assume there'll be a bad breakup at some point. Because it seems, I assume that. But also, I think
it goes in tech. You almost guarantee it.
Yeah, I kind of figure, top people will change out and whatever, and I don't know. But the other thing I was going to say to what you were saying, Aaron, is it kind of goes, what you were saying kind of goes back to our original conversation that Carl brought up and did such a great job of explaining with the search engines is, we've seen this over and over again where we have it seems like Microsoft is both competing against OpenAI and also in cahoots with. And that seems to definitely be the case. And I get, it seems like they've sort of figured it out that it's totally fine that that's the case, that OpenAI may do a search engine and it's got some backing and some, backup from Bing or, Microsoft and what they've been doing for decades upon decades. And then also Microsoft came out with their Bing chat or whatever. And we saw the numbers not that long ago about the drastic increase in use of using the Microsoft Edge browser and how they took a chunk, not like they didn't take Google off the pedestal, but they took a chunk out of that. And Carl, we were just saying the other day that we have to get a follow-up on that chart that you shared to see if that dip is actually right or that was an anomaly or something like that. So anyway, I just think it's in this whole, obviously the whole conversation about Microsoft and OpenAI and their relationship and how they both seem to be able to cohabitate right now in areas where they compete, in areas where they work together. It's really interesting. And I don't think I don't know, I'd have to look in history to see how many models we've seen this in the past, where you have two companies that seem to be getting along, even though you go, I don't know, it seems like you're expecting one to stab the other in the back or something like that. And we haven't seen anything like that so far, but we'll see. Okay. I have if I could just do two quick ones, but they're short. One, I feel like a broken record in the best way here, that there's yet another article that came out on CNBC. It's called "Generative AI Will Be Designing New Drugs All on Its Own in the Near Future." I've definitely talked about this. I love reading these articles about what is happening with drug trials. I just want to point out this one quick part here. I don't know the accuracy of this, but basically what they're getting at is it costs anywhere from 30 million to 300 million per trial currently. The success rate jumped when AI was introduced to the process early on. After a 2-year traditional development process, the probability of success was just 50-50. At the end of the fastest AI augmented process, the success rate rose to 90%. So look, we are on the cusp of some major advancements in drugs and pharmaceuticals. And I think once this all kind of gets together, you're going to have AI not only iterating through millions, if not billions of different combinations of drugs, but also when it gets to the point where AI is also able to test them in an AI experience as to maybe what's closest to what a human might experience as well. That's going to help move faster to like drug trials and things like that. Just a fascinating, I could read about this all day. Just a fascinating area. And I love continuing to see stories where the people who are at the head of this and at the forefront of this are just like, we continuously are floored by what we're getting back from these early, AI augmented processes. So that was one of them. And then the other one was just different, but it was just about 40,000, this is from TechSpot, 40,000 AI narrated audiobooks flood Audible, dividing authors and listeners. And I didn't realize this, but I guess Audible a while back had given the option, which is owned by Amazon, by the way, gave the option for people who wrote books to add an AI generated Audible version of it or whatever. And I guess I didn't realize that. And so there's one blogger cited that converting an ebook to an audio using the AI narration only took 52 minutes, bypassing the expensive studio recording route. Another person was saying, for how many people are going to read my book, it would just never make financial sense for me to get somebody to do the studio session or maybe do it themselves. And of course, you have the human narrators are saying, hey, this is definitely digging into our jobs, our career, our livelihood, and all that. So just yet another interesting story about, some of these jobs that we're going to see probably, except for an extreme small amount that have unique skill sets in terms of human narration, we're probably going to see a vast majority of those jobs disappear because it's going to be very hard to make money on it and get paid for your time when, somebody can quickly turn any PDF into an audio book, turn any script or otherwise into an audio version of it as well. So just thought those both were really, really interesting. Okay, that's it for me.
Brian, I want to make a really quick prediction on one of the things you said there. So AI helping develop medications. Mm-hmm. I'm just waiting for my prediction is that the anti-vaxxer crowd will go ballistic when this happens and they suddenly get faced with, here's an injection that was made by AI. That's just going to give them another thing to have a meltdown with.
No. It's a valid point. I mean, obviously all of this still has to go through very lengthy and expensive human trials that take years. So there's still that side of it, obviously. But you're absolutely right, Aaron. It's a solid point, and probably also would make a great show topic. Is how do you overcome, humans being comfortable with things that start to become fully generated by AI when it comes to something like health? It's one thing if you're reading something on the internet and you're like, well, this could have been generated by AI, or I'm using Udio and I'm creating a song, and you're like, that's fun. It's quite differently when you're like, this is going in your arm tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So, where are people's comfort levels with things, and where AI comes into play? It's a solid point, and probably a great conversation as well. All right, we're running to the end here, but I know we haven't gotten to everybody. Beth, do you have a couple, stories?
I just have a quick one. Speaking of Udio, or Udio, how do you pronounce it?
Udio.
They expanded the amount of time that you can generate. So you can generate up to a 15-minute song now, and you can be much more specific about the song sections. So if you're a musician and you went to Udio before and you were like, this isn't that great, go again. Still free.
I'm going to report back on that on Friday. We have our 200th show, and I'm going to go create something for that and see how much better it's gotten. So we'll see. I haven't done anything yet, but we'll see. Maybe I can talk a little bit about that on Friday's show for sure. Because I can't.
You want my popcorn song? I think I did one.
The popcorn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
It's one of my favorite tools to play with. I could totally spend all my past time wasting all sorts of hours playing on that. Did you have another one, Beth? Was that the other one?
The Microsoft and OpenAI teamed up for a fund for AI literacy, specifically devoted to the coming U.S. election in November, to help educate the general public about what is possible and what a deepfake is and where you can get actual news. And it's like there's targeted populations. There's specific funding for an over 50 organization that is going to help people over 50 to learn about that. So that's really good. And also Microsoft did a really huge thing. They signed a massive package for solar power to power their data centers, or I don't know if it's powering an existing data center or one that's that is in development that they're planning. But Microsoft is making some moves to try to do some of this in a cheaper and more sustainable, environmentally friendly way.
That would be amazing. I don't know what it would take in terms of solar power plus batteries to run a data center, but I got to imagine that's a big infrastructure project. I mean, I want to look into that more. That sounds interesting. Carl, I know you obviously gave us a great opening. Sorry, Aaron. Carl, I know you gave us a great opening at the beginning as far as the potential search engine. But did you have any other quick news stories you wanted to share?
Though the only piece is the one that Sam Altman tweeted out, I think on Sunday. I am a good GPT, which I think people found out it seems to be created by OpenAI because a bunch of like network errors showed it to be. So there's two of them. I am a good GPT-2 chatbot. And then I'm also a good GPT-2 chatbot. But the only way you can access it is through chat.lmsys.org. And then on top of that, you can only access it through the arena battle, and you have to get lucky to access it.
It randomly come up, right?
So randomly comes. So it's not like it's usable. So it's very curious. And then the speculation is crazy. It's 4.5, it's 5. And then I love the people say, oh, if this is 4.5 or 5, it's over. It's dead. No, OpenAI sucks. So it's funny that Altman tweeted, then here, then so who knows? I feel he's just trolling the crap out of everybody, because why would you release a model like this in this kind of format? It's very funny. So we'll probably get a little bit more answers on Monday, or if not, we'll still be waiting next couple months. So that was great.
I do love the trolling. I love that. Like Sam Altman is willing to be part of that and just mess with people on X. As much as I hate to say this, as much as I'm not a fan of Twitter /X, whatever, it's just never been my favorite platform. you can't beat it for the popcorn stuff when it comes to AI. There's so many nuggets on there, and that's why I always say thank God for Carl and Beth, because you guys are usually the ones bringing it to our attention. So if I didn't have that Slack channel, I feel like I wouldn't know what was going on there. So and a lot of those end up becoming our shows. So there you go. It is a huge feeder for things going on in the AI world.
That place is like, you do not want to spend too much time in there, because the speculation is crazy. The conversations are insane. And it's just, you don't know what's happening. And then the comments are just out of this world. So
I have you and Beth for like protecting me from X, and then I had Junmi somewhere along the way. We'll talk about this on the 200 show. Somebody along the way said like, "Hey, do you want to know the comments for like our show, right, on YouTube and then TikTok?" And I said, "No, not me. please leave me out of that. I am way too fragile as a person and a human being to deal with negativity and people being mean on the internet. I know better. It's like scary movies. I don't go watch scary movies, and I don't read comments. I will just stay in my little bubble, and we will keep making these shows. And Jimmy and the rest of you guys can have stronger senses than me and deal with those deal with some of the comments and stuff." Any last
a nice fun item?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Can I finish with a really, really short, nice item?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
So it was reported in TechCrunch that researchers at MIT and Project SETI believe they have, quote unquote, unlocked a kind of sperm whale alphabet with the aid of machine learning technologies. That I thought was very cool, and who knows what that's going to lead to. So, I thought that was a nice way to finish. Nothing to do with tech as such, in terms of companies getting rich off it, but talking to whales might be a thing.
Yeah, I know. Sperm whale first, dolphins next. You never know.
This gave me Star Trek 4 Return Home vibes. It's like, there be whales. Yeah, I'm
so
totally
long
down
and
for it.
Yes, so long and thanks for all the fish is going to be the it's going to be the thing.
That's so funny.
All right, we'll leave it there. Tomorrow we have, we're talking about evaluation models specifically for multimodal. There's been some cool stuff coming out about there. There's a company we want to talk about. So that will be on tomorrow's show. And we've been announcing it for the last week now. But if you haven't heard us, Friday is our 200th show. So hopefully we will have the whole group here. We're hoping. And we'll be able to look back. Beth has been doing some really behind the scenes pulling of some data and some analytics and fun things there. So that'll be just a fun show. It's a great point for us to just stop and celebrate a little bit, all the growth. And that, of course, is thanks to all of our listeners who keep showing up, all our brand new ones. We see you. We see you in the analytics. We see you showing up. We see the numbers at hockey stick growth. So we have no plans to go anywhere. In fact, we just only have plans to expand the Daily AI Show ecosystem. And we have a lot of things coming in the near future. So keep showing up for all that. And with all that, we will see you guys tomorrow for another great show. Until then, guys, bye.
Goodbye. Good night.
All of them.